100%.
Hi, welcome to Hi Fashion Sewing Machines in Grand Junction, Colorado. It is our June 2020 recording of our FTCU club or instructions that we have every month. So if you get to enjoy this, I'm going to be recording it every month. So please subscribe and hit the little what do you call the bell, so anytime there's a new video, you'll get a little warning or a little notification warning, a notification that Bernina Jeff has made a new video. So a lot of them will apply to Bernina machines, baby lock machines, software. So these are my way of helping out my customers and anybody that wants to watch the recording. Today, I had a customer last week ask me for a simple icon or of an iconic sunflower. They all wanted was just a single sunflower to embroider. And I went through my computer looking for a sunflower. Of course, I couldn't find one. I'm going to go through that a little bit today of how to find that. And we're going to go through how to find an image on the internet and then translate that into using our Digitizing wizard into designs. And one thing that we did before you guys started watching this video is we went to the Floriani Club. And the Floriani Club always pops up when you start up your software, and it asks you to sign in. And we watched two videos before we started this recording. And one video we watched, and I think it's worth watching, is Sequence View Advanced Features. And watch that video, and I'll go through a couple features of that here in a minute. And there's another video on Steps for Perfect Stitch Out. And Kathy Quinn explains the Save to Sew features and explains some of the nice options that has. So there's no sense of me recording this. Go to your Floriani Club or R&K Club, they call it now, and watch these videos. They're very informative. Now, while I'm in this particular area, there is a tab called Updates. And if you scroll over your Update tab, there is your Floriani software / Fusion, and Trevor Conkergood has archived all his update videos here. So you click on Update Videos, and you have whatever new updates are. Here is a Smart Fill tool. This is from a couple months back, and your variable bean stitch. So this is how you find their valuable videos and lessons. To find your weekly classes, you go to Blogs and News, and you go to the very bottom, Club Weekly Video Archive. And when you click on that, you have all the weekly archives of videos of what we just looked at. Now, I am going to go to my monthly freebies. Everybody asks me, I'm having troubles downloading my free monthly designs. So this is one that you do not want to change any of the presets. You just want to click on them and download them. If you're having troubles with it, that's kind of a one-on-one thing. Every computer has different settings. So it can be done. You can download them all. If you've missed several months, you can actually download and browse by months you've missed. I just this morning downloaded all designs, so I'm all up to date for 2020. Now here's something I didn't know I had. When I was looking for that sunflower, I went to the software and opened up every single month looking for looking for that picture. This bottom row, if you click on it, it is a page by page from 2009 picture of every free design on there. So October 2009, and you can scroll all the way down. I was looking for sunflower. You can actually even search for sunflower, and if there's any of them named sunflower, it'll pop up to the middle of your screen. Most of them are gibberish. They have a whole bunch of numbers. So this is what makes looking for designs really hard to find, because design's just not called sunflower on your computer. It's called NK5462579-6. And you need a little image to see this. So I scrolled through all of these, and we're going to work with November 2016 and August 2015. So if you want to write those down, I'll reiterate that later. This, I didn't even realize they had this PDF, so this is a really good feature for their free designs. So if you're looking for a design, this is a quick, easy way, and they're all quality designs.
And you can print it out.
And you can print it out.
Yes.
And every month when they add designs, they add it to the bottom.
Right.
So if you're an expert at printing, you can just print that last page after a while. All right, so let's bounce back into, I'm going to get out of the R&K Software Club now. There's just so much good information here, and it's all at your fingertips. It's kind of hiding in places. It's just one of those things you have to learn where that particular thing is. So now I'm going to go to my Floriani software, and I'm going to show you a few tricks here. Now, Kathy showed us how to lock and unlock this properties box. But if you right click on it, you can just say hide, and boom, it's sequence view.
Oh, that's perfect.
That's a lot easier than going through all of your preferences and everything else.
This one's very cute, but it's flannel.
And then you can just add, you can just make it turn back
It's
on by hitting
octopuses
this
and pirates
properties box right up here. So, on, off, on, off. You don't have to drop down your toolbars all the time.
How do you find it again when you hide it?
I just showed you that.
You just do it.
You,
Right
you
click
hide
and
it by
unhide.
hitting hide,
Yeah.
and then you go to this little box up here next to your sprockets and click on that box, and it puts it back up
print,
there.
and it was very little.
It is so, it's one step wonder. Or you can go to your toolbars, and you can turn it off or on in your toolbars. So I turned it off my toolbars, but I can turn it on right there. I think they've just added that feature on one of their latest updates, because we keep losing that properties box. There's a lot of ways to lose it. Now, whenever I turn on the properties box, I come down here to the sequence view bar, hover over that, and I get the little arrows so I can drop down that bar a little bit. And you gotta drop it down to the point where you can see, well, this is design notes. I'm gonna click on this. You have to have this apply button active to where you can see it. Otherwise, if you don't hit apply, anything you do in that box doesn't change. Okay, so that is a real easy way to bring up your sequence view real fast.
Very gender neutral.
So that's my quick video on that. Now, so we have, I'm going to get what I call a new piece of paper or a new work screen, and that's this blue piece of paper at the top left under the word file. I'm going to left click on that, and that will bring me a new workspace. It's all blank. And I thought, wonder if there's a sunflower in my backdrops library. So I looked in there. Or was it over here? Artwork library. I'm going to go into artwork library. I'm sorry. And I'm not seeing anything there that's looking right. So I'm going to go back to the backdrops library. Should have stayed with my first impression. And if I go all the way to the second from the bottom line, third or fourth, I found a sunflower. So I know now, the only reason I did this is to locate it. If I brought this in and dropped it onto my workspace, I'd have to manually digitize this. But I don't want to manually digitize it. I want to automatically digitize it. So I'm going to hit close on this. And now I'm going to go up to my wizard hat. And I'm going to click down and I'm going to pick Auto Digitizing Wizard. So I'm going to left click on that option. And I'm going to select an image. And it actually will come to your images right here. And that's right where we were. Drag all the way down almost to the bottom. And here's my sunflower. Or you could type in PR8-030 in your file name. And I'll remember that tomorrow, right? So I'm going to left click on that sunflower and it gives me the data on it. It's a size, I like to work between 800 to 1,000 pixels each way. It seems to be a good, the software likes that. And of course that's about where it's at. And I'm going to go ahead and hit open. So we have done the select image option. So now I'm going to hit next. And I don't need to crop or resize this any because it's fitting the edges of the image really well. Later on, we're going to crop and resize one I'm bringing in from the internet. So is everybody here? Everybody's doing good enough?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to hit next again. And it is going to give us, oh, let's go back. The previous update, my width was supposedly in inches, but it was actually displaying in millimeters. Now it's been corrected. So this width, it says inches, is actually inches now, and not 2 millimeters. So just FYI, so that was our class last month.
Would it change if you changed your measurements?
Oh yeah.
2 millimeters, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I like to, I scolded a gal a little minute ago. We don't want to work with too large of an image. Don't start working with 8 or 10 inch images.
Right.
3 to 4 inches is a good workable size for the computer and not to get bogged down with adding 1 billion stitches. If you want it 6 inches later, I change the size when I'm right before I go into sewing it.
I was thinking more of appliquing
Yeah.
instead of stitching.
But still, when you're doing this as an applique, you can change it to applique later.
Okay.
But it will put stitches in, so you don't want it to sit there and bog down. Because we can always change that option later. So I'm going to hit next. It's going to select the number of colors. 4 is a good number. If you get up to 15 or 20 colors, you're going to get something that's kind of scary looking. It's not going to be what you think. Because the computer, the software has to select areas and margins and fill in colors. So, you know, the fewer the colors, the better. Even if you can work with a black and white outline image, you can go in and color in those areas. So I'm going to hit next. I leave the tolerance level, I leave all of these just to defaults. If you're having issues, you can play with them. First time through, I always leave all these to default. And it's still going to take a minute or two, maybe a few seconds, it seems forever, to add stitches to this, because it's going to automatically digitize it. And it has brought in the sunflower with all my stitches in it, except for the top of this little, every time I've done it, it's missed the top of this little one with stitches. And I'm going to show you how to correct that. So anytime you auto-digitize or auto-artwork, there's always some finagling or some fixing to do. So we're going to look at this in the 3D view of what it looks like it's stitched out. So definitely there's no stitches on this upper petal.
How come mine is all blue?
Well, you have to click off the side of it. It always comes in as a grouped item. Okay?
Thank you.
That's all right. And you got to remember too, this red arrow at the top left, the select arrow, that is your main tool. If you click on the magnifier, see it's a magnifying now. And it doesn't do anything, but if I hold down the magnifier with the left click button and draw a box around where I want to work, it brings up a huge area where I can see exactly where the stitches are missing. Okay? But now I have to go back and select this red tool again. Otherwise, weird things are going to happen.
Would you like me to hold what you carry?
Now I'm going to add stitches to this. I'm going to do it with turning off the 3D view, and I'm going to add stitches. One of these over here is a stitch tool.
There are
So I'm going to click on my stitch tool, and I'm gonna edit stitch. Lassoing's not gonna help me. I'm gonna edit a stitch. And I'm gonna bring my arrow over here. And when I bring my arrow over a stitch, see there's a little dot indicating where that needle's gonna penetrate. I don't wanna add black stitches, I wanna add a yellow stitch. So there's yellow stitches. I'm gonna right click, not left click, but right click, and I'm gonna say insert after. So it's gonna insert stitches after that last stitch. So I'm gonna left click there. Now I'm gonna add stitches by left clicking. And I'm guesstimating where I want these stitches. I'm gonna go into that, underneath that satin stitch a little bit. And I'm trying to match however far those stitches apart on what it looks like below it. If I go too far away, it's not gonna fill in. If I go too close together, it's gonna be too dense. So see, I'm just going back and forth. I'm adding a stitch after every one of these to fill in that little spot.
Okay, I have a question. Is that gonna put those stitches on top of the black?
Nope, it's gonna follow wherever the yellow was stitching. Because I
Okay,
told it to stitch after the yellow.
okay, so it'll be underneath the outline of
Correct.
that, okay,
The software knows that because I told it to add it
to
after.
do it after,
Right.
okay.
And then once I have finished adding those stitches, you have to right click. That's the only way to
Right.
get out of this mode. So I'm gonna right click and voila, look, I got,
Amazing.
Okay,
and see it's below you, it's
so it is,
underneath.
it's under,
Yeah.
okay.
The stitch tool is a powerful tool. It's, you don't use it very often, but when you need it, you need it. And you always gotta remember to right click to see what you wanna do with it. Now, remember this, select tool is your friend. I'm gonna hit my select tool. And let's 3D mode this and see the view. So I got it a little dense, but I'm gonna live with it. See how much I got my stitches a little closer than the rest of them, but I think it's gonna be fine. And see, they're underneath the black.
Right.
If I didn't enlarge that enough and select the right stitch, I could have been adding black stitches there.
Right.
So just all that magnifier is your friend. Now I'm hitting my select tool. Anytime you want to resize your project to fit the middle of your workspace, double left click the magnifier and it'll automatically reset your design to the middle of your workspace. All right, to me the black outline is a little too bold for me. So I'm gonna select that black outline and it's actually filled with a pattern. I want this black outline to be a steel stitch. So it is highlighted in blue, and I can come down to my one-click wonders down here and left-click on steel stitch, and it's going to apply a steel stitch to everything there. Well, that's great. Now I can adjust my steel stitch. I tried 2.0 and it really didn't make a difference. I'm going to do 0.75 millimeters for a steel stitch. Leave everything the way it was and click apply.
Are you talking about the width?
And that's the width,
Yeah, the width.
Width, excuse me. So it rounded out to 0.8. Now that looks a lot less profound with the outline. Later on we're going to do a bean stitch.
Okay, so if you adjust the thickness of the black, what if you went to, instead of 0.75, what if you did 0.5? Is that going to make there be white in between
Very
the yellow
possible.
and the black? So
Here-
then you would have to readjust everything.
Yeah, or live with it. And if you're been to any of my classes, I say at least once, my mantra is there's two kinds of embroiderers, those that sew a sample and those that wish they did. So,
So
That's-
right now that doesn't look bad,
but let's magnify it really
except
big.
on the bottom.
Let's see, it
Yeah.
covered up the edges pretty good.
Yeah,
And see, because we went narrower, there's always not a full.
full thing, yeah.
But see,
And
just double click on the magnifier,
it
just
looked
so
like that one petal down on the bottom toward the right has got some, right there, has got some open yellow spaces, or am I looking at it wrong?
Yeah, just one of those things, you know. And you know, a 3D mode is a representation.
Right.
It's going to give you the best representation without sewing it out. Now, the next thing I usually do is I test the sewing order of this. I get it kind of the way I like. Now, I'm going to do a sewing order. You come up to this blue bar, I left click on it and drag it across, and I'm watching it stitch out in a simulation. And now it's doing the center, which is great, and it's doing the black last. That's exactly how we want it to stitch out. When you do a auto-digitizing, it doesn't always auto-digitize in the proper order. And one of my next demonstrations, we're going to change our order of stitch out, so we can have that practice too. Now, if you're playing around, I don't like this pattern there. I want it to look more like maybe sunflower seeds in there. So I'm going to go to a motif. I'm going to use this one that's already there, and I'm going to hit apply. And did that really change anything a lot? It really didn't. So maybe you have to change the stitch length, maybe you have to change a different
The
stitch
density.
number or
Change
the
the
density. So there's a lot of different fun things you can do here. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and delete this one.
Before you do that, what are those black stray lines?
Those are jump
Jump
stitches.
stitches.
Oh,
So you'd have to trim it, or depending upon your sewing machine, it might trim it yourself. So here's the one that I did this morning. So you got some jump stitches here. Some of the machines are so advanced now that they'll trim your jump stitches within a millimeter or two. So that's pretty close to what we did. All right, so that's design number one. Design number two is a sunflower that I picked off of a library design. So I just went out and picked a sunflower off of a larger design. Let's go ahead and show you how I did that. We're going to open up a new piece of paper. Now, there is a nice sunflower in November 2016 free designs. So I'm going to go to my library. I am going to November 2016. Nothing happens here, so you have to slide up to designs and click design. So look at this. You have a JPEG. This is what the design was produced after, but you want to go to the WAF file to bring to your workspace. So I'm going to click on that, drag it over. I love doing this. This is something that I will see a design and I'll see something I love in it, but I don't like the rest of it. So we're going to dissect this up and use it. This,
where did you go again, Jeff?
I went to my library of designs over here. See this tab? And it pops up. And then you find free designs. If you click on free designs, it opens up all the months. And then you go down to the month of November, and then November 2016. And you highlight that. Once it's highlighted, you go to this tab that says design, and that shows you what's in that tab. Got it? Or close to it? Okay. All right. So now I'm working in here. So what I'll do is I'll click on the design, and if one part of the design shows up, great. If the whole design shows up, we must ungroup this before we work with it. So if the whole thing is blue or pink, we go up to this tool that has two little red squares on it. If you hover over it, it says ungroup. So let's ungroup. And nothing really looks like it happened, but the software just made it into components.
Show me that icon again, please.
It's up here, bottom row, about right middle. It's called group or ungroup. Now see, I ungrouped it, so next click would regroup it. I'm not ready to regroup it.
Mine, I can't get it back to the blue.
So click on your design. Does it turn blue? Are you in 3D mode?
Doesn't matter if I go to 3D or
You
not.
want to deselect 3D mode. Yeah, I can't move there. So you'll have to bear with us for a minute. Okay. I don't have a helper today. Angie's at home.
Okay.
All right. So now if I click on a part of this, see only parts show up. That means I've ungrouped it. That's exactly where you want to be. My favorite tool of selecting things is I will take my cursor and I make sure I'm above the top and outside the left. So I will left click on my select tool. I will left click, hold down my left button, drag a box around what I want to work with, and I have selected my area I want to work with. And if I pull it over here, I got a little hand, I'm going to drag it over here. Because all I want to do is have this iconic little sunflower to work with. The rest of this, I'm going to click over here on the left hand side to deselect everything. I'm going to make a box again. I'm going to drag a box around the rest of that, make it blue, and I'm going to hit the delete key on my keyboard. So now I have just the sunflower on my workspace. All right? But I don't like working when I'm not on 0, 0. I'm going to select this area again. I made all items blue. Oh wait, if you don't like doing it that way, this software has a lot of items. So I can click on all items and it selects it. Now, there's these little targets up here, these little align tools. So I'm going to hit my alignment tool and I'm going to take the second one from the right. This says center to ruler, so I'm going to click on that. And I centered everything to my rulers. Now I'm on 0, 0. That's the way I like to work. That way I can kind of see where I'm at on size. Now I'm going to double click my magnifier with the left clicker, and now it has made it to the size that'll fit the workspace.
It magnifies it but doesn't change the size.
Right. See, I'm still at 1 inch minus and 1 inch plus, so that's about a 2-inch design. Now I want to see what it looks like in 3D. So this is more of a, you know, artsy sort of flower. I might like it that way. So that's what it's going to kind of look in 3D. I'm going to turn off 3D because I want to work with some items. You know, at this point, I want to look on my sequence view. So I'm going to use my new way of making this hide. And here's my sequence view. I don't want to see my satin stitches. I want to see just the black stitches. All right, so there's my black stitches. And when I select the black stitches, all of my one-click wonders open up here. So I may want those stitches to be satin or steel, but I want them to be a run stitch on this one. So it's going to change them to a run stitch. Well, now I need my properties box again. I'm going to click on the properties box, and I can select from this first tab on my run from my properties. I can select a single stitch, double run. I actually can make a motif run, but I'm going to go up to my run plus, and I'm going to select a bean style. I'm going to do a double. I'm going to do a regular bean, and I'm going to do a 7-ply bean. Pull this down and hit apply. We'll see what this looks like.
What is a bean stitch again?
A bean stitch is like a stitch, backstitch, stitch, backstitch. So it backstitch over itself up to as many times as you tell it. I told it to stitch 7 times. So see, look at how much more bold. And this design is actually supposed to be kind of ragged, raw edge looking. If I do a magnifying on the edge of this, see, you could actually do a satin or a steel stitch and cover that up if you don't like it. But this is the way the designer liked this particular
It's
one.
like my Achilles tendon. It's like
Now, if I see my magnifier still attached, I have to come up here. I'll always remember, check your tools out.
they were on the right.
Select the select tool. Now if I select this middle one, I can actually change the pattern of that. Maybe I want to do a random pattern. Now you see what that looks like. So then I would go save this. But I have done this earlier, so let's delete this, because if I keep too many of these tabs open, my computer starts running really, really slow.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
All right, back to where you got that flower from.
Uh-huh.
If you brought in that design and you clicked the eyeballs on everything you didn't want so that all that was left was the flower, could you have taken a copy of it and pasted it onto a new
Oh yeah, that's
paper? That would be another way of actually getting that flower by
Right.
itself.
yeah,
Is just eyeballing all the parts you didn't
you sure
want.
could.
Okay.
And in some instances, that's what you have to do, because you can't go out and pick something out of the middle of a design without turning the eyeballs off of the other ones. And what she's saying about the eyeballs is, see this little eyeball right here? If you click on that, it goes away. And you can work with everything else, and then you click on it again, and it comes back.
Okay.
Now it's active, now this deactivates it. But it doesn't make it go away forever. It just puts it on sleep mode. So this guy, I did a little bit of, I did the satin or the steel stitch on this one instead of the beam stitch. And if you look, it covered up the edges. So depending upon what you use, you can take a design and really make it all your own. So that's one where we dissected from a library. I think we're going to do another library one. Yes, we're going to do another library one.
Okay, when we did that, I have it shows stitches, individual stitches. I don't have that. I don't know how that happened.
I'm missing what you're trying to point out.
Okay, so on your pattern there, you don't have dots for each stitch. Like I had used the.
Oh, okay.
And it
There is
won't go.
a option for that down here.
Okay.
You can have stitch points, or you can show stitches.
Okay. Okay, all I have
So-
is points that took the color away.
Yeah. So if you hit stitch points, you got all these baby little stitch points.
Yeah.
So there's an option down here on what you want to see and how you want to see it. But because there's so many tools along the left, there's this little area you have to click to find the extra tools. They hide on you.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to do a new workspace, new piece of paper. And there's another group of sunflowers on August 2015. So I'm going to go to my library, August 2015, slide down to my design tab, and we have this August underscore number 3. And I like this sunflower that's pointing right at me. So I'm going to drag it over here. And remember, we clicked on it, the whole thing turned blue or pink. So that means we have to come up and do our ungroup. So we're going to hit ungroup. And it's going to stay blue until I click off of the design area. So I'm going to left click off of design area. And I'm going to try to lasso this guy. And if I get extra stuff, it's no big deal. I can erase it. So I'm going to purposely get extra stuff. And I'm going to show you the easiest way to erase it. So I'm going to make sure I have my select tool. I'm above and outside the left. And I'm going to drag and drop a box around it. And then I can drag this over here. Again, you can go in here and do a lot of different ways. So I'm going to drag and drop a box around the other stuff, and then I can right click and delete, or I just hit delete on my keyboard. There's like 8 ways to do almost everything on this software. So it's all a matter of preference. So I'm going to go and select all items, and that will highlight everything. And I want to center it, because that's just the way I work. All right. So I have some stuff I'm really not wanting in this design. Double magnifier it. So I've got this item here. I highlighted it. I can right click, delete. I can highlight this item, right click, delete. There is an item there, right click, delete.
Here,
I don't want to delete that one.
undo.
There's the item over there I don't want, so I'm right click, delete. Right click, delete. Right click, I'm gonna go to this stem area, right click, delete. There's another item there, right click, delete. So I'm just cleaning up. And there's a stitch over here, right click, delete. Trust me, it's a lot easier than starting from scratch. And I can always double check that I have gotten all the stuff out of there by coming over to, I'm going to hide my properties again because I want to see more of my, so there's that item. Those are run stitches I don't need. Those are all items that came in from the other part, so I'm going to right click, delete. So I can delete a whole little area over on my sequence view. Now, there's a run stitch here, so everything else I need. Okay, so I dissected that. Now I've got it all cleaned up. Let's see what it looks like on our 3D view. I'm going to left click on my 3D view, and look at this is a lot more sophisticated sunflower. It's got really dense satin stitches here. Kind of might be just the way I like it. But then again, I don't know if it's stitching in the right order. Let's see if it's stitching in a good order. So I'm going to click on this. There's all my satin stitches that are really nice and full. There's the outline, and then the center. Oh, that stitches in just the right order because it was from a design that was already perfected. So I've got something attached to, pointing at something attached to my arrow. That means I have to come up to my select tool. After working with this software a few years, you understand that select tool is your important area. Because if you have something attached to it like your ruler, or you start clicking on things, strange things happen. Alright, so I'm going to select all items, and it gives me a size. I'm at 1.5 inches, 5'9", by size down here. I'm going to bring back my properties box by left clicking up there, and I want to transform this, but I don't see. I'm going to select all items, but my transform box is over here, way over here. It is 4 little arrows pointing in every direction, so I'm going to click on transform. I'm going to make sure inches is selected. I'm going to make sure maintain aspect ratio is selected. I want this guy 3 inches, so I'm going to turn it to 3 inches. You have height of 3.1, that's just fine. Drop this down a little bit and hit apply. So this is going to keep me dead center in my workspace, but it's going to make it 3 inches. And it takes it a second to add all those stitches. And I'm going to double click my magnifier. And that's what it looks like in a 3-inch. So this is how we dissect something that's from a file already. And we can find it from the file because we can go to that PDF and anything that's in here. Now, let's say we're just in our computer. I'm going to minimize this. All of my designs are in my folder that calls Embroidery Designs. So anytime I copy off a CD that I own or bring something in from the internet, I put it in this folder. It's called Embroidery Design folder. So I'm going to double click on that, and anything that I've worked on, well, how come these designs are showing up? I have a software called Perfect Stitch Viewer, and it runs all the time in the background anytime I turn my computer on. And it takes a design. If I go to view, most of the time my view is in details or lists. So you don't know what any of these designs look like. With Perfect Stitch Viewer, I go and just click on large icons, and it will read that design and put it into a picture for me to view. And if I go into another folder, and there's folders within the folders, double click on this one, and it always goes back to default to details. So I have to go up here and click on large icons. So now I have horses. I can see what those Farm 008 is. So this is a software I sell, $79.99, and it really has helped a lot of my customers find designs that they have lost on the computer.
I did buy it. I tried to download it. It didn't work for me, so I need to come in and bring it. And
I have a video on that on YouTube.
Mine works great.
I think, okay, so I'll try it again.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
go
I
through my video on how to install it.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't.
And if that
installed
doesn't
mine
work-
either.
Yeah, I was having problems.
I've had a lot of customers have the same problem. And if they go through the install procedure,
Okay.
really has helped them.
Okay, great.
And that's your first step. If you can't, I'll definitely one-on-one help you get going.
Okay,
Okay.
All right.
I need to do that.
But this is kind of just my little soapbox on it. Is a software I really, really like.
And it doesn't
like it too.
interfere with FTCU or any of
No.
the other programs that
No,
you
it's
have? Okay.
it has very few side effects except help when you find designs.
Do you have to download all the designs to that?
No,
Okay. Because that's the problem with the Floriani one. My
Yes.
designs.
right.
Yeah.
My design album has
Yeah.
different features.
Yeah.
This one, you just have to go open a folder.
Okay.
It won't open the folder for you. So here's my designs.
Okay.
And what is 794 folder? I have no idea. So I double click on opening that,
Right.
and it has all these designs in there. If I hit large designs, all right, I got raccoons, I got bunnies, you know. If I want to see more designs at a time, I can make medium icons. Or if I really want to see them, I hit extra large icons.
Okay.
So you go into that particular program and then you
No.
go.
No,
pick-
no,
no,
it's-
no, you never open it again.
Oh, really?
It's
You
in your
never, it's in
Explorer.
it's in the, that's the trouble. Everybody keeps trying to open it.
Okay, so.
Once it's
okay.
open, it's on forever.
Then I guess I don't understand how you get to where you need to be.
It's too easy. You're making it tougher than it is. You just,
Explorer.
all you do, here's what you do.
Okay,
We go to our, whatever folder your designs are in.
okay.
It's folder oriented. So you open up that folder, and if there's a design in it, it automatically shows up.
Okay,
So here's various designs. So, Bench Buddies. So I'm going to double click on Bench Buddies. It's a JEF format. I'm going into August. So it's in a JEF format, but I have to go to my View tab. This is how you open it.
View tab.
It's all
Okay.
oriented toward View tab.
Oh, okay.
You have
Alright.
to go to this View tab, and then you have to click on an icon.
And it only brings up designs that have stitches. It doesn't bring up PDF.
Correct.
Okay.
This is your
Okay,
special
thanks.
program.
Okay.
You have other programs that open
Right,
PDF.
yeah.
This is your special program that opens up stitch
Yeah.
formats.
Okay. Cool.
All right.
But
okay.
I made it too hard too, to begin with. I kept trying to open up Perfect Stitch Viewer.
Yeah, you'd think you'd have to go through that. in
So
order
I
to-
erased that darn icon, shortcut,
Oh.
off of because I kept thinking I needed to open it. But see, I didn't erase it. Here it is, Perfect Stitch Viewer.
Okay.
If I click on it now, it doesn't do anything.
Exactly.
It just shows you activation.
So you just click on a folder,
You
Yeah.
click on a folder.
and if you've got a design in there, it'll bring it up.
And it
And it's-
doesn't matter what manufacturer,
No.
if you're like,
format.
need a good design, if I open up one of those design folders, then it's gonna show me.
It's going to look for PES, it's going to look for JEF, it's going to look for any of the dots.
it
And
brings
then
it
you
up
go
as
to
an icon.
view and then
Yeah.
go up to icon, okay.
And then from there, you can actually tell your computer anytime you double click on it, open up Floriani, but that's a whole nother lesson.
Let's
Right.
not do that.
Yeah,
How much was that program again, Jeff?
$79.99. I'm out of stock on it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
I
right.
can
Give me
order
a
it
sales
in.
pitch and then dump on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm here telling you something you can't have. Isn't that terrible?
Yes.
All right, that's.
He's so clever.
So I am going to erase this one, and I promised I was going to show you. Look at this sophisticated one.
That's pretty.
Look at this. Look at it in 3D. This is a sunflower. It looks like the Aztec made it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very sophisticated. But this is off of clip art on the internet. So I'm going to show you how to go out on the internet, find a clip art, save it to a file that you can find, and then digitize it and do this out of it. Are we good with that?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So,
Okay, before you go there.
all right.
What about the one that we just did? You have a section that says Harvest Brown, which is the outside of the center.
Yep.
What if you just changed that to a motif run and made it big?
Oh yeah, it'd be cute.
Okay, so I'm changing it, all right, so it's 209. I'm just going to make it size, say 10. That's ugly, but I mean,
Yeah,
you can do whatever.
you
have to
can
play
actually
with it.
change that
Yeah.
stitch.
Yeah,
If I click on this,
so if I changed it to 5.
mahogany. Anyway, you could select
Okay.
that particular item
Okay,
and change it to a different stitch or a motif or whatever. You may like little berries going around the center.
sure,
Okay.
okay, good,
All right.
sorry.
It's all right. You guys think of things I don't, and it might pertain to somebody that's listening, so that's perfect. All right, so I'm just going to minimize this so I can get it later. I'm going to go out to the internet, and we are going to.
Can we get on the internet or we?
You're going to slow me down. This is one you're just going to have to trust me
We
with.
have to watch.
Don't you have some
All right.
JPEGs on there you can pull up?
So I'm going to go into. You have to know a keyword. So I'm going to type in sunflower clip art. If you type in sunflower images, you're going to get pictures and things like that, and anything that has if it has shading or if it has more than one color in it, it's going to be hard for the software to auto digitize, and you may get something that's not going to be usable. So, wow. So here I'm gonna browse some of these. And if you can find vector art, it's even better because it's going to be a little cleaner. So this is how I found my sunflower. It's asking me to download something. No, maybe later. Computers. So when I'm looking for clip art to digitize, it's important if you try to digitize something that has 48 colors like this one, it's gonna come out gibberish. It's gonna be too busy for the software to. You want to find something that's almost like a coloring book, something that has outlines, something that's black edged like this. This might do pretty well. But part of this process, well, here's a simple one. That might be pretty good, but that's probably what I would start with to see how it looks. See how that's simple and it has black outlines, so the software is going to find those margins really well.
Explore more searches like sunflower clip art. So you got
Yeah.
the cool, the simple.
Oh.
So if you clicked on simple, would they give you more simples?
Yeah, this is a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
You could be down this hole for days.
Okay.
The internet has given us many choices and many ways
Way too many.
Overwhelming.
to spend hours and hours.
There's an easy.
So, for grins, let's just do this simple one. Oh, is it? What's happening?
It was a category. It wasn't a flower.
It's thinking. I think my computer is just really busy.
You see a little wheel going around anywhere? I hate that little wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's up at the top.
Oh, it's up here waiting.
Yeah, but it's up there doing its thing.
All right. So you get the point. Let's I found one I liked, and I downloaded it to it was on my phone. So I picked that image and I emailed it to myself.
Okay.
So you could do it strictly on the computer you're working with, but a lot of times you take a picture or whatever, you can email it to yourself. And then I saved it to a category called My Scans. It's just the one. And here is, if you look at this, see if you can I double clicked it. This is the image I found and saved. Whenever I have Floriani software going and a few things, this computer gets taxed. I'm not one that spends a lot of money on a computer that crashes in a few years anyway. So see how this image, this is vector image. See, it's a vector stock, and it was free. Vectorstock.com. So you can go there, search things, and I liked it because it's very sophisticated, and I'm pretty sure that the software is going to be able to clean this image up and do a pretty good job. You see, it's got a shadow down here. I'm going to crop that out. Remember earlier I said we're going to show you cropping? We're going to crop this out. All right. So, words of wisdom, because I've fallen in this trap. Remember where you stored it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I've put things I thought was in a download file, and I had 4 different download files, and they were different folders. So it's a club sandwich that gets lost. So my thing for going in and finding digitizing items is My Scans, because I scan things
That's
too.
good.
All right.
That's what I got.
Yes.
All right, let's pop
Scans.
the Floriani software back up. Now, we are going to go into our wizard hat again. And we're going to down arrow. And I'm going to go, you can actually do this 2 ways. You can auto-digitize the artwork. I just find it about the same results doing artwork and wizard. And I know there's a difference, but I'm going to go to the auto-digitizing. Now, we're going to go to select image. If you want to follow along with me and just use one of these images, that's just fine. I'm going to look into a folder called My Scans. And I'm going to fold, it's going to show whatever it can use. Ha, there is my sunflower. And see, it happens to be 1,000 by 1,080. That's my favorite size. And this next step, you just got to remember, next. And this brings us to the cropping area. So I'm going to bring this one down to the top and to the right. I'm going to bring this one into the left. And I'm going to, you got to kind of trust. You got to find your little handle. It's hiding in the black. I'm bringing it just to the tip. See, I'm cropping out the shadow. And I cropped out all of the information there too. Now, if this was not free, it would probably have some wordings across the middle or something. So you got to be careful of who you use. You don't want to steal somebody's hard work. This is 12 colors. That's about right. I work with between 3 and 15 pretty well. And we're going to go to the next. You know, if you want to delete colors and things in there, you can always experiment. I leave this tolerance to the default, leave this to the default. Always default the first try. If it doesn't come out the way I like, I will try different tolerances. I'll try different numbers of colors, because maybe that 15th color is the one that's just causing all the issues, so you can delete that color. This is fairly sophisticated, and I've got several designs already running, so it's taken, I know this one takes almost 40 seconds to upload from other experiences. And previous times, it's actually auto-digitized very well. All right, that wasn't too bad. It's 2.4 inches by 2.39 inches, that's not bad. And what you want to look for after the auto-digitizing is missing stuff. I don't think it missed anything. I'll go take a look at it under 3D mode now. There's things to fix, but it's not too bad for an image. And it's got these nice little shading areas. See where the shading turned into a light corn stock color? Now, I do see right down here, there's an image sign here. And by clicking on part of those stitches, it came up with that writing that I don't want. What am I going to do? Right click, delete. All right, that's all the cleanup we have to do.
Cool.
Now we are going to modify. We're going to enhance some now. I'm going to turn off the 3D. Now I'm going to turn it back on. I'm going to see how it stitches out, because sometimes when you auto-digitize, it stitches out in funny orders. And I know from experience, we're going to change the order of some of these. So I'm going to drag my bar across. So it stitches out the middle. And look, it stitches this out. And it's going to cover it up later. So that's not good order. So our idea is to stitch out all the petals and petal parts first.
She's a coming.
Change colors as you like.
She's a coming.
Then on top of those, put these little cool little enhancements. Well, I want that color to print out last. And then put that color second to the last. So I'm kind of putting in my head the order of things that I want it stitched out. So let's go change our order of stitch out. I have something on my arrow, so you always want to come up and hit select. And it's okay to be in 3D mode here. I'm going to hide my properties because I want to see my sequence view. So this is what stitched out first. I want to have that stitch out second or third to the last. So I can drag this and drop it down to where I want it stitching out. I want it stitched out right before this outline. So it dropped in just the right place. Okay?
So you put your arrow on the after or the before?
Right above it, where I dropped it.
Oh, so you put it on the dark
Yes.
color
And
Yeah.
it popped it in.
and then
And it
popped
popped
it
it
in
in between.
above it.
Sometimes it'll drop it below it. You
Okay,
kind of
you just
have to
have to-
finagle it.
Okay, cool.
And I like having a sequence view large like this because otherwise, when it's really small, you have to right click on it and you say, okay,
Where is it? Yeah.
you'd have to move it. I'm
Well-
going to move this item right to.
The
right.
one you just moved, that first one?
Yeah.
What's the purpose of that one little brown spot down below?
Right
Yeah,
here.
you
The-
covered-
yeah.
Yeah, it's one of these little guys right here. So, yeah, it's for somehow the digitizer made it a little funny color.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there was two other little straggler brown spots right here. I moved
Oh,
up
yeah.
to stitch. Those were going to stitch last.
Oh, okay.
But you could erase them.
Yeah, you could
Yeah.
could delete them.
You could always do that.
Yeah,
Now,
okay.
I wanted this one to stitch second from last. So I could drag and drop him right in between there. Oh, he hit just right. That's good.
Okay.
And I want the outline to stitch last.
Okay.
And look, my bar across here is all changed. So let's experiment again. Let's do our stitch outs. I'm going to drag this bar across. I want all my petals to stitch first. Those guys are pretty good. I want the darker stuff to stitch last.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's much better.
That's pretty nice. There's something attached to my arrow. I always got to go up here and touch this slip because the software doesn't know what you want to do. It doesn't automatically go back to select. So you just have to remember this is your main tool. All right. So I want properties view again. because I'm going to select this darkest part, and that's a pattern. I did this with a bean stitch, and it looked really cool because it takes this pattern. Whenever you have a pattern, it has two parallel lines making an area.
Right.
It's not a run stitch. If it was a run stitch, it'd just be one line. So I'm going to turn this into a run stitch just by coming down here. It's highlighted. I'm going to hit run stitch. And that might be what I like. It makes it really look more sophisticated. If I look at it in a really enlarged view, you see the two run lines.
Oh,
Okay.
You have the little satin stitch in here.
Need to cover those though.
Yeah,
But
it's just a matter of what you want it to look like. And if you use a bean stitch with 7 or 8 or 9 plies, it's going to cover that up because it's so thick.
Okay, show us.
We're going to do that next.
Okay, good.
Okay? So I'm going to go back to my regular tool here. I'm going to select that. Oh, I didn't select. I'm going to select the single run. But I'm going to go up to my run extras, and I'm going to select a bean style. And I'm going to select a ply that is 9 beans long. Drag down this little bar and hit apply. Now, because of this is just a representation of 3D, it doesn't really fill in the 9 ply as heavy as it really does.
as it would stitch.
I have found that this may be an enhancement later in the software for representation, but if I change this to 3 bean and hit apply, it's going to look exactly the same.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, a little.
little different. So, but when you have 9 ply, it really fills in that area almost like and give you a really cool, sophisticated look.
a bean stitch is always the dual?
No.
The dual, triple, 9. It's
No,
that
I
back.
mean-
No, the 2 lines she's talking about.
The 2 lines
No,
that look like
no.
No,
Single.
that is how I translated. That was a pattern fill originally,
right?
and when you change it to a run fill, it gives 2 sides of the
Oh, okay,
pattern,
got it.
Top and bottom.
top and bottom. But it gives it a really cool effect in this particular situation. If I were to select that and turn it into a steel stitch, it made it really narrow. It wouldn't have 2 lines.
Yeah, yeah.
Or if it does, they're together so close that. But that looks like a really cool Aztec star.
It does.
And if I see that I stitch this out, I may not want that light of yellow. I might make it a deeper yellow. But it gives it a cool shading. So that is how you can take an internet art item and turn it into a really cool stitch. And now this is all your own. So you own this now because you are the artist on this particular one.
Okay, so if the original picture was copyrighted, because you've done what you did, you deleted that copyright?
I would call a lawyer.
Call
I
your
don't know.
lawyer.
Call a lawyer.
Okay.
If it has Mickey Mouse on it, it's
Wow.
copyrighted.
Oh, yeah.
That's what that's
Don't
saying.
be doing any logos or anything else and try to sell them at a flea market or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
You need to stay legal.
Yeah.
And there are some hefty fines if they want to pursue. Most of the time they'll just cease and desist.
Right.
But there's always that chance that you got a hungry lawyer and it wouldn't be fun. So,
Yeah.
this software is great. We just scratched the surface on some of the capabilities of it, and I hope I enlightened some people here.
Yeah.
It's a process. It takes several months, years practicing. I don't pick this up every week and work with it. I do every month, and teaching this class has forced me every month to go in and learn something new on it, because I love software, but it's not the thing I go home and do every night.
Right.
So again, I would stitch this out. I would hit save as, and let's go ahead and do this. Now, I'm ready to stitch this out. And a lot of my customers say, well, you're great at this point. Now how do I go sew it? You know, it's the next step. So we're going to go up to File. We're going to go Save As. And my default Save As in my Floriani, I made a folder called Jeff's Classes. So it defaults to Jeff's Classes. I'm going to call it Sunflower 4 because I've already saved it 3 times. Sunflower, and I might, see, I call it Digitized because I got other, I'm going to call it Sunflower Digitized 4.
Yeah, I have a file that, in that area that just says digitized. And then it's broken down into what I did.
Now, I'm also going to save it as a PES or PES. I could save it as an EXP. I could save it whatever I wanted. So I'm going to hit save. And now that saved it to my computer file. So now I would go through the process of inserting a USB stick. Today I only have one in my pocket. Some days I have 4 or 5. And let the computer find that stick. And there's 2 ways I can do this now. I can go to that folder where I saved it at. And this is a nice little easy tip. So I'm gonna close that folder, close this folder. Now, okay, not gonna be as easy as I thought. I have to go find the Jeff file. So Jeff file is another place. So I'm just gonna go back to here.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go Save As from here.
Yeah.
File, Save As. Now, we want to save it in a different area. We want to save it on that jump drive, USB stick. So let's find that USB drive. There it is. So I could actually make a folder at this point. I'm just going to save it to the root drive. I'm going to save it as Sunflower because I don't have any other sunflowers on that USB, so I don't have to specify
Well, if you
it.
save it to the same name as you have in the other file folder, it may, if you write it Sunflower Digitized 4, like
Yeah.
you did before, then you would have a connection in your
Yeah.
mind.
I would have a connection,
Yeah,
but I'm lazy. I'm just going to say
Okay.
it called Sunflower.
okay.
All right, that easy. Now, always remember to safely eject your thumb drives. So left click there, eject storage, and if the machine, if the computer was using it, it'll say, I'm using that right now. You can't take it out. So you have to close the software that's using it.
Yeah.
This particular one was no problem because I do not have an icon anymore. So now I can remove my jump drive, take it to my favorite sewing machine, and stitch that out. So, and whenever I'm stitching it out, I try to use the same stabilizer and the same type of fabric that I would be using on my final design. Because it doesn't pay to stitch it out on a heavy stabilizer and woven fabric if you're going to put it on a t-shirt.
Right.
And even if you have to cut up a bunch of old t-shirts to have something as a sample, you know, it's worthwhile. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the recording right now. And I hope you appreciated this. And if you would please subscribe to my Bernina Jeff, that helps me out on my likes and everything else. And you can actually do a notification if you like. Thank you very much. My website is www.hifashiongj.com, and hi is spelled just H-I.